what you do in a metaframe is, as it says here, you're evaluating the belief that the person has. Not yet. From the frame of an ongoing, personally oriented context. Now what that means is if I have two people fighting, and they're going to typically be saying, well, you always do this. They're not talking about what's happening right now. I want to frame their conflict in terms of things that are happening right now. So for example, a common metaframe that NLP gives you is, well, the only reason that you're arguing is because you're visual and you're kinesthetic. And so you can't see what she's saying. So you notice that the metaframe is, yeah, I'm not talking about your belief, I'm not talking about the content, I'm not trying to reframe content or context. I'm saying the only reason you're having a problem is because of this thing that's happening right here in the ongoing context. Remember, if somebody puts a metaframe on you like we were talking about yesterday, where they say, people don't accept me because I'm being persecuted because they don't accept me, and they start kind of applying it to you. One of the ways I know around that is just to put another metaframe on it, which is to say, well, you're in our context right now. You know that belief is making it hard for me to accept what you're saying, or it seems to me that you're not accepting the kind of things that I'm talking about either. In a sense. So what I want to do is to bring it to the present context and comment on what's happening. For example, if I say to somebody, it sounds to me like you have a hidden agenda going on here, or that there's something else behind it, that's called a metaframe, because I'm commenting about what's happening. I'm going meta, meaning above, the actual ongoing situation and commenting on what's happening here. And usually people, when they're arguing, are caught in content about past or future, or you always do that, or you never do that. So that the metaframe then allows you to set up something about the ongoing context. Now, positive types of metaframes to set would be, well, you guys are here because you want some additional input from me. And I can probably think of things in ways that you haven't thought about. And the way that you've been trying to solve this problem so far hasn't worked for you. So therefore, anything that you do that's the same as what you've always done probably won't work. So what we're going to do is do different things. Now, this is something you set up before they ever get started. And notice, it's about the present. It's about you've got to do things different than you've ever done them before, and I have perceptions about it that you don't have yet. Now, whenever they start going back into their old arguments, you say, oh, wait a minute, you're just doing the same things you've already done before, and you know that isn't going to work. So now I can keep going back to that frame. I can say, oh, wait, remember this frame? And they go, oh, yeah. And here's the thing, is if I can get them to agree with that frame at the beginning, before they start arguing, and I recommend that you do this, before you let them go into it, set a frame that you can come back to. Like that. Don't try. See, if you try to set it when they're already arguing, you have to kind of deal with the argumentation. If you set the metaframe ahead of time.
How would you do that?
Well, just like I said, I'd say, okay, here we are, we're sitting down. I understand, I don't know yet what you two have to argue about, but I know probably that the way that you have been trying to solve this in the past hasn't worked. And so one of the reasons that you're here to speak with me is because I can provide some new perceptions into this. Is that right? Now, anytime that they disagree with me, I can say, oh, wait a minute, remember, here's my new perceptions, because what you've been doing, remember you agreed before that what you had been doing in the past hasn't worked. Yes?
But how, if you don't observe them actually engaging with one another, how do you know what it is they're doing?
You don't. All you know is that the reason that they're coming to you in this context is because they can't solve it. I just know that
what I'm getting at is if they start arguing and engaging in something that they did in the past, you're not aware of that. To start with, how are you going to be able to point that out to them and say, well, this obviously is...
Well, what I'm saying is you know that they're going to start doing things that are going to be... I just wait until I see something that happens that's unproductive, and then I label that as being something.
Then they have to disagree with themselves instead of disagreeing with
Right. He's saying then they have to disagree with their own thing as opposed to disagreeing with you. If you don't set this frame ahead of time, then you have the problem is that you might get stuck in there. And this is one of the things that Freud used to do. Freud was a fantastic metaframer. Metaframing meant, hey, I mean, the only reason that you're upset with me is because of transference.
Right.
It's not me, I mean, it's the meta frame. So you go, no, it isn't transference. Oh, well, I mean, that's of course part of the transference, that you would disagree with me, right? I mean, so all of a sudden, everything that you do is related to this meta frame of transference. He would also do things like saying, well, the rules of our therapy is that you have to tell me everything that comes in your mind, no matter how painful it is. And then if people didn't want to tell him, he'd say, no, it's not me. I can't violate this rule. I mean, I really care for you. I don't want you to have to do something that's painful. That's just the rule of doing therapy. It's not me that's making you do the painful thing, saying the painful things. That's just a meta frame. That's what we're doing. So the other interesting thing is that it really allows you to not have to take the heat if the people get uptight about it. You say, well, that's the frame, guys. Sorry. That's what we agreed to. I'm really here supporting you.
Okay, so Sadie, and you say, okay, erasing the past didn't work, so...
Yeah, so you're here to get new perceptions from me and to do things differently than you've done them before. Because you know what you've done before has not gotten you towards the goals. Yeah. Right, if they did, he says, if they did, you wouldn't be here with me. So there's other metaframes, but that's just a common one that you would use. Now, you can use other metaframes like going, well, your only problem is that you've got, it's just that you have a negative anchor to this. And it's a meta frame in that it's saying, it's like Freud talking about transference. It's something that you're not aware of that's happening in the present. It's nobody's fault. It's just this negative anchor that's happening. So let's first start with the positive anchor. Let's go over some of the examples. I think that'll also help a little bit. So a person goes, I can't do this because I haven't done it before. And you say, well, you only believe that because your unconscious mind hasn't yet discovered or acknowledged all your unconscious creativity. So in other words, a common metaframe that people would use is, the only reason you're having this problem is because you're not letting your unconscious use all its resources. How are you going to argue with that? How do you know what your unconscious knows or doesn't know? It's unconscious.
It's because it's a nose.
Yes. We're on almost, are you the role players?
Yeah.
We're not ready yet. One more pattern. It'll be about 2 more minutes, I think.
Robert, just information-wise, 1 o'clock lunch.
Yeah. I think this exercise will be done just in time. Okay? So in other words, I'm saying, well, the only reason that you have to believe that you can't do it is just because you're not allowing your unconscious to manifest itself. Well, again, how's a person going to argue that? And it takes the emphasis off the content and puts it onto, well, how do I know if my unconscious is going to be manifesting? Someone says, I care about others, and they'll take advantage of me. And say, well, you only believe that because you have faulty imprints, past role models of how people should act. Well, once again, I'm putting a meta thing around this. I'm not arguing the belief. I'm saying, well, the only reason that you have to have this belief or that this is affecting you in this way is because of this meta level experience. It's hot in here, isn't it? Let's see, you're all right. We can either turn that up or we're almost done. So we can, for just about another 2 seconds. I'll just do one more example on the metaframe. You were late, so you don't care about me. This is actually one of those ones you got to watch out for rapport. You're just feeling that way because you build unrealistic expectations about other people and then blame them when you get disappointed. So you're saying, again, the only reason that you're having this response is because of this other frame. Now, if the person says, well, I don't build expectations that way, you say, well, that's an unrealistic expectation itself. Last one.